Well, let's start with the big breaking update that is coming in. We are learning that cooking gas has become more expensive. The price of a domestic LPG cylinder that has been hiked by 29 rupees, taking the cost of 14.2 kg of the cylinder in the national capital to 942 rupees from 913 rupees. The new price has come into effect from today, and this is also the second LPG price hike in the last 3 months. Back in March, cylinder prices were increased by 60 rupees after turmoil in West Asia impacted the global energy markets. And once again, we are witnessing that a cooking gas cylinder has gone costlier by 29 rupees. And the pressure is not just limited, remember, to LPG alone. In the last 3 months, petrol and diesel prices have also gone up by 7 rupees per litre. CNG too has become very costlier, with the prices rising by around 6 rupees per kilogram as well. Let me get you more perspective and go across to my colleague Kritika, who's been tracking all the details. Kritika, breaking news coming in that cooking gas has become more expensive now. The price of a domestic LPG cylinder has gone up by 29 rupees. Give us more details. What is the reason behind this hike?
Well, Akansha, yes, this is coming as an early morning shocker because now the cooking gas has also been impacted. Earlier, we've reported on the price increases in the commercial gas category, and now the domestic cylinder is also impacted. As you rightly pointed out, there was a 60 rupee per cylinder hike way back in March due to the early effects of the West Asia war as well. Currently, we're seeing that around rupees 30 it has been hiked up again. So the prices for, say, in a city like Delhi has increased from the last 913 to 942 as of this morning, which of course will come as a big, another big burden on a lot of consumers as well. Specifically as a lot of them continue to depend on the LPG cylinders, and IGL is still not, that well distributed in the population as well. So, of course, this is going to pinch the consumers further, specifically in the backdrop of the rising prices of diesel and petrol as well as CNG too. So, of course, this is coming in as the energy supply crisis continues due to the pressures of the West Asia war. We already know that the Strait of Hormuz, the sort of transport that was halted over there also because of the tensions that were rising, was going to have a long-term impact. The government earlier had said that they were trying to absorb a lot of shock and try to shield, in fact, people from the immediate effects of such an energy crisis. However, sooner or later, this is bound to happen, and now we're seeing the effects of it with the price of the LPG cylinder domestic category of the 14.2 kg also rising up by rupees 29. Over to you.
All right. So once again, the prices have gone up. Thank you so much, Kritika, for getting us all those details. Let me also go across to Kishore Subramanian, financial expert. Thank you so much, sir, for connecting with us. With India importing over 60% of the LPG needs, what are the risks if the conflict deepens? Because in the last few days, we have seen back-channel talks between US and Iran, but no breakthrough now. If the conflict deepens, what are the risks for India?
Morning. The risk is very, very simple. It is inflationary risk. As I have been continuously telling on your channel and to many places where I speak, that these rises are going to continue till the war continues. The good part of the news is that India has managed not to escalate the fuel prices, which is the petrol and diesel prices, beyond 5 to 10%. But LPG, the first hike was about 60, now it's another 29, 30. I expect another 100 rupees hike if it continues for the next 3 months. But what the government will do to soften the blow, at least the perspective of the blow, is to hike it in small parts, small tranches. But let me very clearly tell you, this is not in our control. We are dependent on fuel and LPG through imports, and there is no other way. There is no other alternate but to bear the burden. But having said this, this crisis doesn't seem to end. And I'm telling you that if this ends, you will see a reversal in the LPG prices, but petrol and diesel, I doubt, until and unless the Brent drops below 70. So currently we are in a situation where inflationary pressure is going to increase. I do not know whether the government has any other methods to reduce this, because you can't increase indirect taxes to cover this up. So you have to directly impose this on the people. And unfortunately, more than 75% who live at a very minimal per capita income, less than $2,500 a year, have to bear a big brunt because this is a number which is big for them. The inflationary pressure isolated on this is not going to be huge, but yes, a 0.5% inflation and it compounding on other goods and materials, another 0.5%. So a 1% inflationary impact on the CPI will happen.
All right, so this is bound to have impact on the household budget and also inflation. Thanks so much for connecting with us. Let me also go across to Sharad Kohli, economist. Thank you so much for connecting with us. Is there any policy option available to cushion the consumers from any future global energy shock? Because this is the second hike as far as the cooking gas is concerned in the last 3 months.
Good morning, Akanksha, to you and the viewers. Yes, you pulled it out of my mouth, because I was about to say, I was listening to the previous panelist. I think, yes, there is a method because extraordinary times call for extraordinary action. I think the best that government can do right now is, instead of passing it on to the consumers, government must set aside a fund out of the various welfare and developmental schemes which have been launched in the budget. Some of those schemes which are low on priority, they should be kept on hold. And if you don't want to disturb your fiscal deficit, I think a fund of about 100,000 crore must be set aside for absorption of these shocks. Because eventually, if they are passed on regularly to the consumers, then most of the people are in the low income or middle income group. Their home budgets are going to get upset because LPG cylinder is something which is in the poorest of the poor under the Ujjwala Yojana. The gas cylinders have been given to the poorest and marginalized also as far as incomes are concerned. I think if they have to bear it, then this is going to become very tough for them. And this may not be the last one, first of all, because the war seems to be breaking out again. Bahrain and Kuwait have been attacked again. There seems to be no sign of truce. So this definitely is not the last one. I think government must immediately set off a fund to see that petrol, diesel prices and LPG prices, they get absorbed either by the states by reversal of VAT, or this should be brought under GST. So there are methods. It's not that there is no other means available. As an economist, I can tell you very convincingly, Akanksha.
All right. Thanks so much for connecting with us. As experts believe that this is not the first increase. This will not be the last increase because of what is happening there in West Asia. But for the common man, the reality is quite simple. From the kitchen to the fuel tank, everyday expenses, they are continuing to climb. Thanks so much, Mr. Sharad Kohli, for putting that into perspective. Let me once again go back to my colleague Kritika on this. Kritika, you've been speaking to a lot of people in the national capital because this is bound to have an impact on the budget expenses, on the inflation across the country as well. What have people been telling you across the country about this?
Well, Akansha, people are miffed, and rightly so. What they have been pointing out since the very first price hike was the fact that the pay, the salaries, the paychecks does not increase in the same way as the price hike does. So, of course, there comes to be a lot of pressure on the monthly budget of a lot of families as well. Specifically, those who have to be dependent on, say, private commute, or have to be dependent on domestic cylinders as well, and that is what is currently playing out as well. When we'd asked them if they have any expectations of there to be a reduction in prices in the times to come when the situation in West Asia also relatively calms down, they were quite, in fact, hesitant in that sort of a way as well, because they said that is unlikely to happen. So, of course, there is some mental preparation, but there is a lack of financial preparation for these additional pressures to come in, because it is not being factored in by a lot of families, as they say that their income does not increase in the same way as the inflation when it comes to fuel prices, or for that matter, now the cooking gas also being hit significantly. So in the last, since March now, what we are understanding is about 90 is the price hike in the domestic cylinder category as well. And of course, like a lot of families, so the bigger ones as well, there is a lot of consumption too. Yes, the IGL is rolling out, but that still appears to be not the most viable option for a lot of people, specifically those who are living on, say, rented properties, because then they are not in control of the kind of connection that their homeowner would like to, in fact, go ahead for. So there are all of these intricacies as well, but people on a large are not, of course, happy with any sort of price hike that messes up with their monthly budget. Akanksha.
All right, because in the last few months, the petrol, diesel prices, commercial LPG, and now the domestic LPG prices, they have gone up. That has really irked the people. Stay on with us, Kritika. I'll come back to you once again. We are getting another breaking update as cooking gas prices have gone up once again, triggering a fresh political row. The Congress party has strongly criticized the central government over the domestic LPG price hike, accusing the government of burdening the common households amid the rising inflation. The party has also repeated the inflation man jibe at the Prime Minister and claimed that the central government is looting citizens through repeated increase in the fuel and the cooking gas prices. So clearly the politics has started. Congress has reacted very sharply to this. Let me once again go back to my colleague Kritika on this. Kritika, we saw similar statements when there was petrol and the diesel price hike, and also when there was commercial LPG price hike as well. The Congress party once again calling Prime Minister inflation man, as they have been saying ever since there has been price hike across the country.
Well, of course, so what the Congress's narrative as far as the price hike, which is happening on the back of the West Asia war crisis, as well as the global energy supply crisis, has been to, in fact, pin it all on the government itself. As you rightly pointed out, they have been calling the Prime Minister Mehengai man since the price hike has, in fact, come into effect. Now, what the Congress believes is that there should have been advance purchases done. There should have been that sort of stockpiling should have been done earlier, and that subsidies need to be introduced, and the government, the oil companies, the gas agencies, the gas distribution refineries, they're the ones who need to absorb the pressures and the price hike that is happening because of the West Asia war. This is what Congress has been repeating continuously since March, for that matter as well. Even in the very latest press conference, they had stated that what they're expecting is subsidies to, in fact, come into effect, because as the Congress points out, if the cost of the commercial LPG goes up, the domestic LPG goes up, fuel goes up, it will start showing up in the daily food basket of citizens as well. One Congress leader had also claimed that on this day and age, it is very difficult to even arrange for a full plate of breakfast in, say, 100 rupees. So that is how much that 100 rupee note has also thinned out as far as inflation is concerned. So this is, of course, politicking at this point. The government, of course, remains steadfast in their narrative of how this is the least price hike that is happening, one of the least price hikes that is happening across the world.
All right. Thanks so much, Kritika, for getting us all those details. I'm also joined by Gopal Krishna Agarwal of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Thank you so much, sir, for connecting with us. Congress party once again calling the Prime Minister inflation man. In the last few months, the government and the experts are saying that this is quite inevitable. They are trying to cushion the blow, but Congress party once again, they're calling and slamming the government, calling the Prime Minister an inflation man. Your reaction to this?
The important thing is the way the supply chain is being managed by the Modi government. Global crisis is there, and we understand the difficulty the common man will face about the price hike. But the issue is, in comparison to the global crisis, the way the supply chain are being disrupted about the crude oil and the gas, the government has been very meticulously planning the supply chain and how efficiently the best way out can be taken out. If you compare at the global level, after such a long time, these prices have been hiked. But the issue is the way the government, what step our government has taken. The government has increased the supply chain from 27 countries to 40 countries. It is after a very long time. Even our oil manufacturing, oil companies, marketing companies have efficiently tried to absorb whatever price hike has been. And the crisis is there, and government is working on. Yesterday also the Prime Minister had a long meeting with the Prime Minister Economic Advisory Committee about how to move ahead.
All right, so Bharatiya Janata Party, they're saying that the government is trying to manage the supply chain and trying to cushion the blow. But on the other hand, the politics is raging. Congress party hitting out at the central government there, calling Prime Minister once again a Mengai man. Thank you so much, Mr. Agarwal, for putting that into perspective. With this, a very short break. More news and updates on the other side.